All right.
Start the report.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Excellent. All right. Well, the meeting is called to order today at 5:34. We'll start with agenda item number 2, roll call. Myself, present. Janet is present.
Janet Quinn is, yes.
Okay, and Chris is present.
Present.
All right. So the chair recognizes we have our full contingent and quorum. Moving on to item number 3, moment of silence and pledge of allegiance. Let's first take a moment of silence. All right, and let's move on now to the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to this republic for which we stand, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so next item number 4, the agenda. Consider approving the agenda.
I move that we accept the agenda as written.
Excellent.
I
Motion.
second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion to approve the agenda passes. So moving on to next item, number 5, public comment for agenda items. Seeing as we don't have any individuals in the audience today, I'll go ahead and say that we're seeing none, so we'll move on to the next item.
Right.
All right, so agenda item number 6. Let's consider approving the minutes from the January 8th, 2026 reorganization meeting.
I motion to approve.
Excellent. Chris
I second
mentions.
it.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, the motion to approve the last meeting minutes passes. And so now number 7, we'll move on to our reports. Janet, item 7.1, the Bird Town and annual review.
Thank you. Yes, on behalf of Newtown Square's Birdtown Committee, which is Terry McCarthy, Cindy Mahala, and myself, Newtown Square's Birdtown Annual Report was submitted on January the 25th to the Board of Birdtown, Pennsylvania. And I want to thank George Sharitz and Maura Kennedy for helping with municipal information. And in addition, Wade Pollock from Parks and Rec, Carol Wagner from the Shade Tree Commission, Kathy Cavalier from Historical Society, Sheila O'Feeney Sullivan from the EAC,
Mhm.
Carly Lair from CRC, and Paul Seligson from Newtown Square and Bloom helped to provide data for the report. Across the 5 strategies of sustainable practices, which are municipal actions, youth-related actions, community and individual engagement, organization, collaboration, and partnerships, and advocacy, we earned a total of 95 points, with 368 volunteers involved in activities, accumulating 1,520 total volunteer hours. And this does not include the hours that our amazing Newtown Township Public Works and other staff members put in for many of these activities. And we had 1,439 hours of participation in education, demonstration, or craft building. I'm very proud of Newtown Township. That is a bird town with an emphasis on sustainability. There are now 99 bird towns across the state of Pennsylvania. And when we submit our report for what we have achieved in 2025, I would like for this to be included as an attachment. And we surpassed our point total from last year, which was 85, because I took a look at the document that's on the wall over there. So we're doing a lot.
That's
of
awesome.
really good stuff.
That's fabulous. Thank you, Janet.
You're welcome.
Anything else you want to add on Bird Town?
Yes, on Birdtown, I wanted to mention that Newtown Township has partnered with Garrett Williamson, and we have 2 workshops planned for this spring. The first one is on March 14th. It's Bluebird 101 with Krista Hickson, and she is a member of the Bluebird Society of Pennsylvania. She will be talking about the amazing bluebirds that we have. I had one at my feeder 2 days ago, which is, they do not migrate, they stay around, so we can expect to see them. The other one that we have is a it's called eBird for Everyone, and it's on April the 4th. And this will be from 9 to 11, again at Garrett Williamson. It's a workshop to teach the basics of using the Merlin Bird ID, eBird. And then after the workshop, we will go out for a short bird hike on the beautiful trails of Garrett Williamson and test our new app. And that gentleman is Manny Damaguiz, who has been actively engaged in birding throughout Philadelphia and the surroundings. So I'm hoping that these two things, Steve, could be placed either on our Facebook page or on the coming events I think we have. Is that possible?
Yeah, that should be possible.
All right. And of course, I also wanted to mention that this coming weekend, or the weekend of with the 13th, is when the Great Backyard Bird Count is taking place. And that is something that it's easy and fun to be involved in. You can decide where you will be watching birds, and you can watch birds for 15 minutes. Or more, at least once over the 4 days, February 13th through the 16th, and identify all the birds that you see or hear within your planned time, and then add that to the bird count at the Backyard Bird Town Count, and that's with the Cornell Ornithological Society. And that is like citizen science, where all of that information gets collected, and then we have an idea of hopefully we see an increase in the number of birds because they are in decline. And so all of that data is really valuable.
And I just want to say, just on a personal note, I have several Bluebird boxes myself, and I'd say the Bluebird boxes and in particular, the Merlin app have been the two things that my young child has been most enthusiastic about. So anybody who might be listening, they are awesome for children. My daughter loves opening the Merlin app, and every time we travel, she identifies new birds, and we sit in our backyard sometimes, and it's a really wonderful and engaging thing. And I think both these topics would be great, not just to put in the newsletter, but maybe after the events, you could give us, of course, an informational recap in the meetings, and we can look at ways to disseminate that more online and educate people about how to involve their kids in that kind of citizen science.
Yes. And when you talk about Merlin, if I'm working with people who come up to a table event and I ask them if they know about Merlin, if they say no, it's going to open a world for them.
Oh,
that you can just click on it, listen to a song, and it'll tell you what bird you're listening
My
to.
daughter will steal my phone and she'll go run around Jenkins Arboretum where I volunteer, and she loves it. It's really fun when you're traveling too.
Yes.
Great. Anything else you want to add on Birdtown?
That's it. Thank you.
Fabulous. So item 7.2, the 2025 annual report, I do have an update on that. I was able to connect with Sheila, who has been hugely informative, and she did let me know that everyone who served in the 2025 EAC is down to contribute and participate and provide commentary. So they should be working on that over the next several weeks. Also on a personal note, I have been spending quite a bit of time going back through the old minutes and agendas, and I'm just really blown away by how much work everyone did over the last year. And I'm really excited to read this to understand like the full picture of how it evolved from the 2024 report. So I'm excited to read it. And hopefully we can take some time during the next agenda and talk through that as well and recognize all those accomplishments.
Good, good.
All right, so now we can move ahead to new business. So first item 8.1, discussion and possible action on the sustainability conference. Obviously, the original date planned was forecasted to be March, and that's really not feasible given where we are at the present. I do know that I've heard that there is still a lot of interest from the Small Business Association in that. I know in speaking from Sheila and Janet, I'm sure you can speak to as well, it was very successful last year and there was a lot of enthusiasm. So it does seem like something that we want to, target to do again in 2026. So I'm certainly open to other members weighing in on that, but most likely it looks like we need to reschedule this to the fall timing. I know September was potentially mentioned. Yeah,
Yes, I think that we talked about, we want to make sure that it's done at the quality that we were anticipating having it this March. And so we need that time to just get up and running,
that
for
makes a
all of
lot of
us to get
sense.
up and running,
Mhm.
right? Do you have a comment, Steve?
Yeah, the comment I would make, I would make two comments. One is obviously we need to work with, I believe we were doing it at Garrett Williamson. So we obviously want to make sure that Garrett Williamson is open for whatever time frame that we're looking at trying to do it.
Mhm.
And so that may determine when it is, right? Based on
Yes.
what their schedule is. The other thing too is that Mary from our office, one of her roles is is the sustainability officer for the township. And so she would be a good resource, although she's learning herself what that means. But she
You know,
would be a good,
same boat. So
she-
we'll
she-
do it
yeah.
Together.
but she would be a good
Yeah.
resource to work with, particularly in helping to chase down certain things. She's really good at being able to kind of follow through on that kind of stuff.
Definitely. I do have a meeting scheduled with Mary to introduce this coming week. So I think that'll be a good opportunity to talk with her about that more. And then I did reach out to Garrett Williamson. I know you have strong connections, but also
Yes,
just
right.
ability to maybe have some time to just introduce myself to him as well. So maybe that's
So
something.
did you connect with Senator Thompson? Because she's the one now who's kind of taking the lead in, well, she's the one who set up these two workshops that we're having. She and I went up to Newtown, Bucks County,
Mhm.
to hear a lecture with Mike McGraw. It was a fascinating lecture
Mhm.
on how to graze cattle, which you wouldn't think. You know, when I went up, I thought, well, I guess I don't have much interest, but Mike McGraw does our bird walks
Okay.
for us
Awesome.
at Garrett Williamson. Anyway, it was fascinating. It's an information that every one of us should know about. And Sandra's reached out to Mike to have it
Awesome.
presented at Garrett Williamson, so they're working on that. I'm really looking forward to that. So I think our connection with
Mhm.
Garrett Williamson is really becoming even closer than it has been.
I agree. And so I think next steps then would just be to reach out to them and have that conversation. I think it does beg the question though, if we're going to reschedule this one from March to the fall, does that mean that we're then looking at this as a one-time rescheduling? Because it does introduce a little bit of complication if we're moving this to fall. You know, historically it's been in March. Are we going to
Right.
commit long-term to it being in September? You know,
Or go back to it.
or March? And if we feel strongly about March, I think this is very much going to be a reorganization and rebuilding year to a certain extent. So it's also okay to consider, if not this March, next March, but I'm very open to all those options.
I think that needs more discussion
Yes.
with Mary and.
Mhm.
Yeah, what I like about it being in the spring is it seems like people are like ready for something.
Mhm.
And it's a good way to kind of kick off what's going on, the business association, get them excited about whatever it is that we're doing. I understand why we've made the decision to kind of push it off this year. But I think that going forward, we would want to do that. So how we do that, maybe in 2027, we push it a little further into the spring
Mhm.
with the idea of bringing it back around, over time versus trying to, have one in October or September, then turn around and have another one.
Yeah,
So
that would be
in-
challenging.
Right.
In March. Maybe it's September and May.
Mhm.
And then the next year we'll bring it back a little bit closer to that original date.
That's
Just a
good.
thought process for you of how to kind of, I think, move it back into the time frame that we
Mhm.
want it to be in.
Makes sense.
And as it turns out, Steve, perhaps you are aware that the Sustainability Conference for Delaware County is on March the 13th. So it would have been a conflict,
Yeah,
right?
Yes. So we
Right.
are still having a sustainability conference, not just art, but actually maybe that conference will give us a lot of thoughts and what we might want to bring into potentially a fall themed
It's
conference.
excellent. It's excellent. The speakers that they have, as
Mhm.
well as the networking that you can do while you're there during lunch. So and the tabling that's there. I highly recommend. Now, Chris, I know you work and maybe it's not a day that you can take off because Wait,
I'm flexible.
sorry.
I can take off.
And we can
It's on a Friday too.
All
tag
right,
team.
okay.
So it sounds like we'll probably carry this topic over to the next meeting. We'll gather some more information. We'll talk
Good.
to some of the partners, understand availability, chat with also the Small Business Association, see what they have an IPID type for, and then maybe we can try to, next meeting, we'll come back, bring this on the agenda and see if we can nail down a time frame.
That sounds good. And I think that perhaps we need to figure out how we go about asking new businesses or
Mm.
businesses that are not part of this sustainable business. By the way, I have brought for each of you,
Ooh, goodies.
yes, the sustainable bag. So that
That's
you can see
awesome.
what we have here.
That's
So
awesome.
there's two there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think we'll talk about that more anyway later on in the agenda when we get to the
Okay.
goals. So we'll definitely hold this off and maybe we can talk as well about, how to best talk with Garrett Williamson, because you have an established
I do,
relationship.
right,
I'm
yes.
more of a new relationship just
Yeah,
coming
right.
in. All right. Okay, so next agenda, which actually leads into the next agenda, discussion and possible action on 2026 EAC goals. Pull those up.
Yes, I know, at our last meeting, I distributed, paper copies
Mhm.
of, what the goals are. I personally looked over, the ones that I felt that I could take a lead on. And number, I'll
Mhm.
just tell what I put a check by.
Mhm.
Number 3, deepening community outreach and education. We do a lot of education through tabling events.
Mhm.
We are beginning to think about tagging into the libraries. I think it's monthly. They're going to be doing a workshop.
Mhm.
And so if it becomes something that's regular, I think we have a better opportunity to have a good attendance. We tried something like this 2 years ago, and we didn't get the number of residents that we were hoping for. So I'm hoping that tying into something that's ongoing, that we can then be part of that, working with the library. We also, Birdtown has a relationship with the HOAs in terms of getting them on board for sustainable practices. So we're hoping as a Birdtown, the board of Birdtown, which I sit on, is hoping to have HOAs become like mini Birdtowns.
That would be great.
Yes, so that's number 3. I also thought number 6, expand the
Mhm.
tree initiative. We have worked with the Shade Tree Commission and also with Parks and Rec. So this is something that involves a lot of our other commissions and councils here. So I'm happy to take a lead on that. Then number 6, we'll continue to find new ways to promote awareness in light, noise, air and water pollution. We, as in Birdtown, submitted 2. One was a proclamation, and that was about lights out during the migration season. We also submitted something on using native plants, 85% for what is planted on township property. So I know that there are other options that we are working for. One being a front yard. We're not using the word weed anymore. But I will introduce
Mhm.
something that was, I attended a We Can Serve PA conference this past fall, I guess it was, and they have produced a ordinance about how to allow residents to have things in their front yard.
Mhm.
And I would like to be able to present that perhaps at our next meeting.
I think that would be
And
wonderful.
we could look at it and
Mhm.
you could take it and decide if we want to move it forward to
Yeah.
Andy Resnick.
Um, Yeah, I think before you do that, you probably should have a conversation, before you spend time on it, I think
Okay.
you should have a conversation with your liaison. And just,
Paul.
Paul, and just get an idea of whether it's something you think the board, I'd hate for you to spend a lot of time and find out the board doesn't want to take action on it.
All right.
Yeah, and I know the township is working on getting a meeting scheduled for us and for me with Paul and Leonard, but that's still in the works. So maybe we could put together a list of topics we could run by them when they're
Okay.
able to schedule that.
All right, then I'll wait until that has been worked out. So, I guess what happens if the two of us are at a meeting with our liaison? Maybe we could only have one?
Well, I think if you're at it, I think it depends on what you're doing, right? If you're having just an informational meeting,
Yes,
it's not a problem. If you're
Okay.
trying to make a decision, you can't do that,
okay.
if that makes sense. So there are times that I have meetings with board members and all I'm doing is saying, here are the facts, right? And if that's all I'm doing and sharing that, that's fine. If you start getting into discussion about how you're going to do business and what you're going to cover and what topics you're going to cover, then that's probably that would be more of an issue.
All right, so we just seal our lips when it.
Well, I mean, I think you're just going to have to be careful. That's, and decide how you're going to do that.
All three of us are there, there's no issue.
Well, no, if all three of you were there and you're still having that conversation, it's the same
It's
thing.
the same thing.
So
We
I,
have to be in a public forum.
it would have to be at a public forum and allowing people to hear your. So the idea is this, and the real point of it is is that when township business is taking place and, you're starting to make decisions or you're starting to determine agendas and those kind of things that you're really, and I don't mean the agenda that you have tonight. I mean, like what it is that you're going to be doing. If you're doing that behind the scenes, you're not giving the public an opportunity to have a chance to comment on it. And you're not having the public have a chance to hear the conversations that are going on. And the whole point of doing this is to allow the public to be a participant in government. And so that's the key. And the other thing that, and I don't think that's been happening here in Newtown, but there were communities in the past that everything was done kind of behind closed doors. They came out and took a vote publicly just to, say they did that. But all the decisions were made behind closed doors and the public didn't have an opportunity to really understand why the decision was being made, or was somebody getting a benefit that nobody knew about, and those kind of things.
Okay, understood. So I think you taking the lead on those items, I don't know about Chris's thoughts, sounds wonderful. I would love to be your second, as it will, with community outreach and education. I do feel very strongly about that. Even if I'm just showing up to help volunteer, I think that would be great between now and the next meeting. Is, I know I shared out, I did some organization personally around what has been done in the past. Maybe
Yeah.
in the next meeting, I think it would be great. I'm a planner and an organizer, so I'd love in the next meeting if we could look at a list of, here's what was done last year, here's what we know might be happening this coming year across, events and conferences and possible partnerships, and maybe talk through those and say, yeah, we know for sure we want to do these, or we want to explore these more, so that we can start to plan. I know some of these things might be quick and some of them might take multiple months to get into media and publication. And we can also look
right.
at how do we drive a little bit more engagement, how do we need some posters? Do we need to tap into some other forums to really drive engagement? Although so much work has been done in the past and so many events have been held, I feel like I want to look at it as, understanding from you and from other members, what were the most impactful, what were the most successful, and just repeating those. Because I agree with what you said earlier, the more regular, the more predictable, the more we build on things that have been done or people can anticipate, the more engagement we'll get, as opposed to
Right.
trying to jump in this year and say, hey, let's try these 15 new events. No,
No.
let's capitalize. We might have to pare it down a bit because there's only 3 of us, plus those who choose to contribute, but let's focus on the things that have already been successful to keep them successful and make them more successful instead of trying to reinvent the wheel.
Right. That's
Agree with
good.
that.
And I'll also take number 10,
Mhm.
which is maintaining and strengthening Birdtown
I
certification.
think that's an easy win for you, Janet. I feel I'm open, and Chris, feel free to jump in anytime. I mean, I think number one is something that we kind of all are doing collectively, particularly as we put out a new strategic plan. It's something
Right.
we should review and discuss in the meetings. We can almost assign all of us to that. I'm definitely open, and Chris, I'm not sure if you're interested in taking some of the lead on the new Town Square Green Business Coalition, maybe something that one of us could lead or we could partner with, of course, with Janet's help as well.
Mhm.
I think, between now and the next meeting, understanding, having a chance to talk to some folks who are part of that, learning more about the requirements and thinking forward on how we would expand this, because that also then, of course, ties in very strongly to the sustainability conference. I've even just learned.
Are you talking about the green business
Yeah.
sustainability or the
Yes.
county state?
No, number
Okay.
two, the New Town Square Green Business Coalition. And then, yeah, I would love to help support the community. I've also got a lot of experience of organizing communications for events, and I just want to, get out and in the community. I think looking past the list, let's see. So let's actually just go down the list. So number 4, I think we have it. So I was looking at just the list of everything. We've got kind of, it seems like 3 certifications. So number 4 is about advancing the township's Sustainable Pennsylvania certification. You, of course, I know are maintaining our Birdtown certification. And then we also have the Tree City USA certification. Or I think,
Is
correct
that
me if I'm
being
wrong.
Tree City, is that?
I mean, that would fall under Parks and Rec at this
Mhm.
point,
Oh.
probably. Or actually may fall under the township's staff to do,
Okay,
is what I'm thinking.
but I think you have to pass a resolution. I was asking Carol about that.
I don't think there's a resolution that has to, I have to look back. I don't remember a resolution that had to be passed. I remember that there's an amount that we have to budget every year
Okay.
for tree
It's
maintenance
30,000.
and taking, huh?
I think it's 30,000. If you look collectively at everything, including like leaf collection, I could be wrong. I was,
Well, I think it's an amount based on population.
yeah, like I think it's about $2 per capita, which kind of puts it in that like,
It's a little, I think we're
Yeah.
up to between 30 to 31,000 kind of thing.
especially with leaf collection. Yeah. Okay, so it sounds like then the Tree City certification is not necessarily something we're maintaining. We do have the Sustainable Pennsylvania certification.
And that's the one that Mary Wells is working with now?
Well, that's who we'll be working with it,
Okay.
yes, going forward.
Is that something where she has ownership, or is that something where we still play a role at all?
You obviously will play a role. Probably ownership sits in her area in that, she would be the one from the staff side. There's a lot of stuff that you all would not be involved in.
Mhm.
That goes into that regarding, I mean, there's financial stuff that goes into it. There's a lot of things that make up that certification.
Mhm.
I will tell you the requirements for that certification have become much more difficult
Mhm.
to get to certain levels. Some of which I'm not sure whether our board is going to want to spend a lot of energy on.
Mhm.
No pun intended. And after I said that, I realized that one of the things is
Energy.
energy usage.
Efficiency.
But there's some real specific areas that, like, I don't think at this point there's any desire from our board to change people's trash collection.
And
And
trash collection
one
is
of-
complicated.
And one of the things that you would have to do and I can't remember if it's I think it's to maintain the silver standing that we had, was that you would have to have a single trash collector in town.
Oh,
And,
okay.
I just can't even imagine that that's something that in 2026, the board wants to tackle. Because, I mean, I could just tell you all the things that are involved in that decision, right? It sounds simple, let's just have a single trash hauler. But I think you said you put your trash out once every Like.
We don't make enough trash.
to-
My family's only 3 people and 3 dogs, and we don't make enough trash to fill a trash can on a weekly basis. That, I
Yeah.
know not everyone is the same.
I mean, and you know, and then I know people that fill a trash can twice a week.
Yes.
Right? And so what would the board make as a decision about how pickup would be? You know, for you, for us to come back and say you have to have twice a week pickup and you're paying for that then in your taxes, doesn't seem like a smart move. If you're looking at something, I don't know how you have it contracted with your contractor, but you know, maybe you're contracting once every other week, you know, and
Mhm.
then all of a sudden I would say, oh no, you have to have pickup twice a week. The vice versa on that, somebody who's having twice a week and the decision was to go to once a week, what does that mean? And, you know, because there are people, you know, that's the case, you know, and like for us, we only have a 60-gallon trash container. I know a lot of people that have the 90, right? So 90, that may be what gets you twice, you know, twice a month kind of thing. My 60 might not be enough to get me to twice a month. You know what I'm saying? So it's like what size, all of those things become a matter for us, and then who's going to do it.
Well, yeah.
And in some places, we have, like a lot of our HOAs, they're responsible for their own trash collection. Does the township really want to take on that role? And if we say to them, no, you're going to continue to do your own trash collection, do we have people in the township that pay more taxes because they don't have the same, you know? So it's just, there's a lot of, I think that's just what I'm trying to say. There's a lot of, it's not simple. Some people said to me, it's very simple. You just pick it and go. It's not that simple. You know.
Well, we're gonna have short, medium, long-term topics. This clearly is not a short-term topic, which is perfectly fine. So then I think it's still, we can discuss this when we meet with Mary and we can learn more about what it might be
Yeah.
long-term, but probably not something we're looking at in 2026.
So
Mhm.
it brings to mind the collection of compostable materials. I know that the county has a 10-year plan to have all townships be able to recycle their compostable material. I'll be anxious to hear in our meeting that will be the conference on the 13th, if they've moved forward on that. They made a application, a grant for 50,000, I think it was, to start that process. They did not get that grant. They haven't given up on finding a location where townships could send their collections to. And certainly I know from a conversation with George that it would reduce what we throw out by a substantial amount.
And that's
Yeah.
potentially a cost savings, right?
Yes.
Because I know trash collection can be more expensive, but the complicating factor, I imagine, is if you don't have a consolidated single provider, the collection is going to be a little bit more complicated. So I'd be very interested to hear. I know
Right.
in my prior life, in my last residence, we did have municipal composting
good.
that was mandated in San Francisco, but the city of San Francisco had a single municipal, I don't know if it was a municipal entity or a private entity, some combination thereof. So, you know, recycling, trash, compost, it was all collected by the same entity on the same
Uh-huh.
days. So I think, you know, a disparate system is certainly more challenging.
Right.
Though I do think composting in general, a good topic for a listen to. I know for a while, I actually had a private contract with someone who collected my compost on a bi-weekly basis. And now I just do it in my backyard because we have an acre and a half. I just don't use it for my vegetable garden. But yes, I'm very excited to learn during the conference what the
Yeah.
county is looking to do.
And I personally have a pickup for my compostable material
Oh,
every other
fabulous.
week, right? And I think that Lower Merion has just contracted to have township compost,
I saw that.
right?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm impressed. And media has it already.
Mhm. I also, at least in
You
our
can
house, we have
drive.
an indoor vermicompost, but that is very complicated to maintain,
Oh, I
not
don't
for
know
the
what
beginner
that is.
composter. But we should actually talk about compost more in the future because I think it's a good potential area of education because home compost is not
Sure.
necessarily used in the same context like in your home property.
Yes, right.
Because I do cold composting and I wouldn't want to put that on a vegetable garden.
Oh.
All right, so let's see, other topics still here. So we've got promote sustainable lawn keeping and lawn care practices. This I haven't gathered any additional information about necessarily. I don't know, Janet, if it's something that you can speak to further.
Well, we do suggest leave the leaves. We've
Mhm.
published in our email, e-newsletter through the township
Mhm.
a couple of times that we have suggested that leaving your leaves for multiple reasons,
Mhm.
which I'll state a few now, and that is that overwintering or bugs are under those leaves.
Mhm.
It's how they kind of stay a little bit warm, maintain life there, and then also it's a way of fertilizing. I mean,
Mhm.
why remove them all and then fertilize your yard afterwards
Mhm.
when you could just leave your leaves? So if you, we always say if you don't want to leave them all, just rake them into your garden and leave them
Mhm.
there because they'll break up.
Yeah, and I always say, get the mower out again and run over them. And, leave some, but at the same time, if you do that, it makes such a big difference. And the amount of money that we spend every year hauling leaves off that could be recycled back into the ground is
Yeah.
huge.
Yes. So I think education
Mhm.
comes
Is-
down to
Yeah.
education.
I'm not sure it's
And-
necessarily
and-
like a standalone goal, but it's bundled under education.
Leave it a bit messy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You're leaving it a bit messy, then you are helping the other organisms that live
Mhm.
with us. That's really important since we're having a decline not only in birds, but with pollinators, bugs, great bees.
Yeah.
And so I think people are just not aware of that.
Yeah, so I think definitely let's look at how we can do it with social media, with the newsletter, with articles, maybe with events, particularly in
Right,
partnership with
right.
the library. I know personally, so we do not remove any leaves from our property. In fact, in my first year here, I went and stole some from my neighbor, put it in my marsh. I've seen a massive increase in the number of lightning
Right,
bugs
yes.
that we see in our yard. And that is one of the things that I mean, when I was growing up, they were everywhere and they have not been these days. And that's another thing for families. Maybe we can educate about like
Sure.
the magic of going out at night in the summer and being surrounded by lightning bugs is something that, I mean, it's, it's not an iPad, but it's pretty special. And my daughter who loves her iPad, again, like on top of Merlin app and stuff, she
Huh.
loves the lightning bugs. So maybe we can also figure out like, how do we best educate? And
Right.
not everybody's property is the same. Some properties like mine have a lot of space to collect and consolidate leaves. Some people might have to do like a 50-50. So I might have to consider, how do I strike a balance? Maybe I do need to mulch them. So maybe we can look at talking about like, well, how might you handle this on a lot of different properties?
Right, yes. Right.
Because not everyone has all the space to just leave them in a pile, the wind, the kids, totally understandable. All right, so maybe not a separate item, but something I think we should have also, we can work on a list of education topics and look at how we can pre-plan them for multiple months based on timing.
Absolutely.
So let's get to number 8, and I'm gonna look to the left at our resident engineer, which I'm sure he'll want to be involved in. Number 8, advise municipal bodies through land development reviews. Obviously, this is something that everyone on the EAC needs to be an integral part of. I'm not as familiar that yet, though I hope to learn more about what that process is of when we sort of identify and understand there's something we need to provide input at, what the timing of that is. I know, Janet, obviously you've been on the board for
But
quite
that was
some time.
not one of my tasks.
Okay,
So-
understood.
But-
This is an
but
area
we
we need to
had,
look into more.
Yes, being able to
Yeah.
dig down and look at what are their riparian buffers, what are their light application, right? So these are things that you have to be able to pull up those plans and know what you're looking at. And that's not, not something that I have been able to do with any real sense of
I'm more than happy
expertise.
to kind of take the lead on that.
Oh,
And
great.
I will second you, and Janet will third you. This is admittedly an area that, coming from a homeowner background, I need to learn a lot more about in the coming weeks and months, and even just some of the nuts and bolts. But I think it's great, and maybe Chris, we could look at, maybe it's something where you could do some research over the next month and maybe present back to us and share a bit about, what to expect, or just even talk across the council, like, what does that process look like for us? I'm a complete novice to it. Steve, I see you over there. I'm sure you have some thoughts as well, but I just want to make sure as we're moving into this year, we're just have a sense of what's coming up so we can plan and prep and participate for all of those things.
Is there anything on the horizon that's going to be coming to the Planning Commission and to the EAC in terms of new building?
I would assume at some point,
Mhm.
I don't know of any, there's nothing that's been submitted that's like waiting to come to you.
Mhm.
There are, there are a few things that are sitting before the board that you've either already addressed or they were a one lot subdivision
Mhm.
that typically doesn't come before the EAC. Yeah, I know of some that keep telling me they're coming in. I haven't seen anything on it, so we're kind of waiting.
Okay.
All right. It sounds like for now we'll have Chris be our work towards building a knowledge base. Obviously, we will all contribute. I'm going to do some independent work as well to look at what the EAC has done in the past. It's on my very long list of
Okay.
things to learn about because you guys have done so much. And then I think the only other open item is number 9. The 2025 report is going to be covered, of course, but I'm
Right.
happy to throw my name out there to hold accountability for the 2026 report.
Okay.
That'll be probably on our goals for 2027, but
Sure. Okay, I think that Sheila said we usually present the
Mhm.
annual report in March.
in March, yeah.
So hopefully we have enough data
Mhm.
that we can put that together by our next meeting.
That would be great. I'm excited for that. All right, so just keeping us on time track, I think we've covered, we only have about 15 minutes left, so I do want to move a little more quickly through the next 2 items. So item 8.3, discussion and action on newsletter topics. I think there's a couple that I had mentioned before that might be of interest. I know Janet, also you've had some, I know I've seen you doing some great posts about how to support birds in the winter online that we might want to think about submitting, but some other topics to consider. One thought, this is a good time of year to think about winter sowing for people who are into gardening. That's something that I haven't done as much about recently, but I have in the past.
I think
Mhm.
anything to do with gardens
Mhm.
is where you
I got
have
it.
your strength.
Yes.
Yes. So I was going to submit the invasive plant of the month. I think, Steve, we didn't finish discussing if that could be, because it is on the Bird Town's website. And that was an issue because it was generated by the EAC in Doylestown.
Yeah, the concern that we had with that was whether or not we were breaking a possible copyright
Hmm.
issue because we're taking somebody else's article and then using it. Sometimes there are places that say, take this information, you're welcome to pass it along. That's not a problem if we have that permission. If we don't have that permission, then that becomes an issue. And because you don't want to, and the other thing is you don't want to take their name off of it,
Right.
and not give credit. And yet on the other side, do we really want Doylestown being the one that's all over our news piece? If it's one article, it's okay. But my point being is I think that our concern was copyright issue, permission, and all of those things, because you can end up in some legal issues if you're not careful with all of that.
So then I should not, even though it's on the Birdtown website.
So my question is it the Birdtown is it Birdtown's ownership? And can they say, like, I don't know how it gets there, if that makes sense. My concern is, how does it get to Birdtown? Is
You
it,
put it there.
huh?
Heidi is the president of Birdtown.
Yeah, but did
Pennsylvania.
she get it from Doylestown?
She was on the EAC. She generated the whole thing.
Yeah,
She put it together.
yeah. I guess if she gave us permission,
Check with her.
like if she sent us a note, yeah, I give permission, but you can take off the fact that it's Doylestown and just put that it's from the bird town. I think we probably would be more okay with that.
All right.
It's really an issue of
Yeah.
making sure we don't have, we don't get ourselves in, copyright
understand.
issue.
Alternatively, if there's a copyright issue, Janet, I'd be happy to take that one. I've written a lot of things in the past for other organizations. We could still do our own independently written version of invasive and maybe couple it with a plant this, not that. So recognize the invasive and suggest maybe like a very easy to plant and accessible Pennsylvania native alternative that's
Okay.
got some showy, maybe some winter
All right,
interest.
okay.
Okay.
So I'm gonna send you the link
Perfect.
for where to find it, because she had one for every month.
Mhm.
An invasive plant. So, I will redirect myself to doing bugs,
Love bugs.
the bugs of it.
I love it. Maybe we need we need a native tree of the month. We need a bug of the month. At some point, the newsletter is going to tell us to go away and then we'll just start posting it ourselves. Okay, excellent. So I think we have a couple topics there. I might also write up one for winter sowing. We can submit multiple and if they
Okay,
don't use them all.
we
that's-
can.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
Certainly not more than 3, but
Mhm.
2 is good. And Chris, if there's any issue that you are passionate about or would like to do some more research
I
on.
know we need to learn more about Chris. We've been talking to him.
You girls have a great idea.
Yeah. Right. Okay, so I think we're set then on that. We are running short on time. So item 8.4, review transition conversation with previous chair. I'm very
You did
grateful.
mention that,
Sheila has
right.
had a few conversations with me and we've spent the majority of that time just talking through all the work that you guys have done in 2025. And I have nothing but admiration for the work that the 5 of you have done. I mean, like, as I mentioned before, it's so much work that we are probably going to have to take a look at it and say, okay, this is maybe more than we can handle with these 3 people, but let's have more conversations and figure out particularly, hearing from prior council members, what do you think, and from this report, what were the most successful, and let's carry those forward. Because again, especially from a background in training and knowledge management, the more people hear the same message and the more people attend the same events, the more that's going to stick with them and resonate them. So
Right.
just really a focus on amplifying that. And the other thing that I did want to mention that was one thing Sheila mentioned to me that was really just jumped out at me was, I think her phrasing was like, we in the EAC, we are the voice of environment here. And that just
Right,
really
yes.
resonated with me. So a little shout out to her for that, because it was something that I really appreciated. And then I think it's important for us all to keep in mind. All right, and so jumping forward, I think old business, I believe we don't have anything on the agenda. Items for the next agenda. So I think we've covered quite a few of these. Looking back quickly, I think we're certainly going to have another on the newsletter topics, the
Yeah.
annual report from 2025. Hopefully, I don't know if the timing of the March meeting will work for a presentation or if it's going to be later in March. We'll find out in the next couple of weeks. And then certainly all the things we talked about earlier, an update on the timing and interest in the 2026 Sustainability Conference. I think we can probably revisit this list of goals. And as we've all had about a month to do some research and looking down on that, we can revisit those in the next agenda and talk about, what are these events or activities or awareness campaigns that we
Right,
really
yes.
want to nail down for 2026 so we can start planning. And then we might have to go back through, you might have to go back through the notes, Chris. There'll probably be a few more items.
Yeah, we have a bunch of stuff.
Oh, those
to get back
items.
to.
All right. So item number 11, public comment. Do we have any public comments? We have a member of the public,
If you're going to comment, I'm going to ask you to go to the podium and turn on the mic.
unless you're here for Parks and Rec.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Yes.
I am going to ask you to go to the mic because we have people that are listening to
Oh,
the recording.
wonderful. Where is the
Okay.
mic? Is it up there?
There's a mic right there.
Push the green button.
Please, if you would, yeah, just, is there not a mic on top? Would you put a mic over there?
And if not, you're welcome to come take
Here.
my chair, because I do have a mic. Public comment.
It's exciting.
The township, I was simply wondering what board is this? That's all.
Yeah, so we are the Environmental Advisory Council. So we serve as advisors to the township and the Board of Supervisors about key environmental concerns, whether that's about proposed land development reviews, community education and outreach. And we're always looking for a few good volunteers.
Okay, yeah, and it sounds like great work you're doing with, I was only here for a short period of time, but looking at native plants as opposed to more invasive species and supporting the local environmental, that sounds great. So, yeah, I would definitely keep an eye out for volunteer opportunities. The newsletter that you were talking about or the
Yes.
magazine, is that where someone would look to find
Yeah, so
volunteer opportunities?
if you're not signed up already for the Newtown Township e-newsletter, definitely go ahead and get signed up. You might have to scroll a little bit down to the bottom and click more to get to some of the articles, but that's where we definitely be posting things about volunteer opportunities. I know also sometimes they're on Meetup as well, or Janet, you can probably speak to that more.
Or Steve knows for sure
Mhm.
where to find it. I know I go to the Wet Township's website,
Mhm.
and then up in the left-hand corner, I can click up there and it says residents. If you then click on residents, it'll bring up options for you to get the newsletter and sign up for the newsletter.
Yeah, I would encourage you to do that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, and hopefully
It would send an email to you each month when it's ready.
Great.
And you get the kind of get an overview. And if you want to further go down into an article, you just click on it. It takes you back to our website where it is.
Okay, all right, thank you. Do I
and please
push the-
come back. We would love more members of the public joining us.
Oh, yeah, sure, absolutely. Do I push the button again?
You can
Tell
just
Mike-
leave it.
Just leave it. Okay,
you.
thank you.
Thank you. All right, so now I think we are just on time to get to adjournment. And someone may have to, oh, I've got it in here. Adjournment. I need to make, I'm going to make a motion for us to,
Yeah.
almost got there,
I-
Steve.
Huh?
I almost made it through the meeting.
You
on the
did
way.
very well.
Fantastic.
And so typically, yes, you can ask for an emotion to adjourn. Or the chair has the right, and I don't think I went over this.
Get the gavel?
Yeah, you could just say the meeting's adjourned. Yes, you can just click and go, the meeting's adjourned.
Well, does anyone have anything else they'd like to raise before we adjourn?
Yeah,
Janet or
I want to
Chris?
say thank you for chairing tonight.
Okay.
You've been first
Well
full
done.
reading there, did a great job.
I second that.
Oh, thank you.